People smoked in restaurants. People smoked in bars.
People were still allowed to smoke on airplanes.
I had been smoking for 15 years and started when I was 13, basically, in the roller rink.
People were smoking pretty much everywhere. That's what the world was like.
The California Tobacco Control Program was launched as a result of a ballot initiative known as Proposition 99.
The tax increase will raise $600 million a year for indigent health care, anti-smoking education, and research into tobacco-related diseases.
Proposition 99 was like this shot that was heard around the world. It wasn't just going to be about helping people quit smoking.
Well, one of the real insights that CTCP had from the beginning was that smoking is a socially constructed behavior. There were a whole range of activities that the tobacco companies used to create a social environment that supported consumption of cigarettes. Baseball cards were invented by the cigarette companies. They wanted to associate tobacco with sports and just normalize it.
So it was our job in the early days, and continues to be, to take the normal out of it. It shouldn't be normal to be addicted to this terrible product.
California has done a phenomenal job at the denormalizing of smoking, despite very vociferous opposition.
None of the research, I repeat, none of the research establishes that nicotine is addictive.
How can they say that?
I hadn't ever thought about all of the predatory activity that the tobacco industry has rained down upon our community. Once I started educating myself, I just couldn't believe it, and I was appalled. They went into our community in the 60s and the 70s. They distributed free products to children as young as 9 years old, like Marie Evans, who in Boston was given free Newports at 9. She started smoking them at 13, addicted, dead at 54. When you lose a Black grandmother, you have lost the anchor to a family. And that's what the industry has done to us.
Nobody had ever taken on an industry before with any sort of public health advertising, and that's what launched in 1990 was an aggressive anti-industry approach.
Taking on the tobacco industry was incredibly controversial. You know, we really owe a lot of debt to this ad, first the smoke, now the mirrors.
And it was Paul Kai who said, I worked on political campaigns and you need to make somebody the bad guy. And these guys are the worst bad guys in the world.
Philip Morris does not add nicotine to our cigarettes.
Let's expose them.
We do not do anything to hook smokers.
And that's where the anti-industry approach came from. The woman who led the media campaign at the time kind of felt sick to her stomach a little bit because she thought, whoa, can we do this? Well, shortly thereafter, we did do that.
We weren't going to apologize for pointing out the tobacco industry's role in the tobacco use epidemic.
So forget about all that heart disease, cancer, emphysema, stroke stuff.
It has remained something that has differentiated California from the rest of the nation is how sustained we've been on really making sure that the industry is called out at every single point along the way.
The science has shown us that individuals who are exposed to secondhand smoke experience higher rates of cancer, higher rates of heart disease, higher rates of other types of problems.
One of the key messaging that the program did in the beginning was to just further publicize that information as the science continued to develop.
Over time, that has, I think, really shifted how people who are non-smokers view tobacco use. We realize that these types of behaviors are not just going to affect that individual that's using tobacco, but it's going to affect all of us.
One of the really important things that the California Tobacco Control Program did around the secondhand smoke issue is to just tell people, you know what, we know you don't like breathing this stuff. You don't have to put up with this. You're empowered to do something.
We brought along the 80% of the population that didn't smoke and engaged them in this issue.
When people saw how they were being exposed to secondhand smoke and the danger it caused, they got pissed off and they passed policies up and down the state. There were over 200 policies passed within 4 years.
California was able to have the leadership and the support to think about what needed to come next in tobacco control.
It has been the norm for these corner store retailers to sell tobacco for years and years.
You know, there's a war in the stores. It shouldn't be normal to walk into 30,000 different stores and see tobacco products and all of that advertising that goes with it.
California's rate of illegal tobacco sales was 50%. So one of the things that California did that was different from most states is that they embedded their enforcement program for tobacco sales to minors within the California Department of Public Health. And for the last several years, California's rate of illegal tobacco sales has been under 10%. That campaign involved sending young people out into stores to document what products are available, how much are they sold for, where are they placed, in what communities are these products available. And that data really fueled this progressive advocacy effort.
We have to take special measures to make a healthier community. And so we have passed policy. I visited 240 stores on my own, and I wish I could have visited all 799. I heard the fear of change. What am I going to do without Newport cigarettes? How am I going to survive? But then there were other retailers who had given it some thought and realized that tobacco sales were down anyway. So they said, look, I'm not against this policy. I just want to know how to comply. Can you help me? With the small stores, it will be more difficult for them to make the transition. But that doesn't mean that we stop our work. We go full forward naming the tobacco industry for pushing this onto our neighborhoods, into our communities.
The question is who is smoking these days? And the people who are smoking are not privileged people. It's people who are low income, people who have mental health challenges. They have a right to have the healthiest life that they can have and not be the target of an industry that's profiteering off of their lives.
In Polk Gulch, there was a line of 8 gay bars. It seemed like everybody was smoking. It was sort of saying to me, to be a gay man, this is your life. To look at Out magazine and to see the tobacco ads on the inside with like, wow, somebody's recognizing our gay community and they're supporting our publications. But then like 10 seconds later, somebody might think they're supporting our publications with addiction and death.
Big Tobacco thinks every black face is a place to make a quick buck.
Curled around our kin in a thick cloud of menthol smoke.
Community norm changes looked a little different in the community where I grew up than in other communities that had a head start. Where I grew up in Baby Hunters Point, there's still all of these things that promote ill health. But when I just drive across the bridge to Marin, there are 4 juice bars. There are 3 yoga places. So the choices that people have and what their idea of what norm is different. And that's what the tobacco industry has just really used.
We have a moral requirement because of the way the tobacco industry has targeted certain populations. The program has been very clear that it does not want to leave any group behind.
Focusing on a multicultural approach, we funded for the first time community-based organizations from the populations who were most disproportionately affected by tobacco use. And you had the media campaign actually running ads in Spanish and Asian languages.
So I think this has been incredibly important, both for California, but it's also served as a model for the country.
We care about the individuals, and we no longer want them to be negatively impacted by this terrible product that, when used as intended, it kills people.
In an effort to monitor school vaping, some schools have had to remove doors from bathroom stalls and even close bathrooms entirely. That's a fact.
The real problem right now is the proliferation of new tobacco products, particularly electronic cigarettes.
We saw this giant increase in youth that were starting to use e-cigarettes, and you can thank the tobacco companies for that. Using influencers, celebrities.
I'm Jenny McCarthy, and I finally found a smarter alternative to cigarettes.
They're being marketed and sold the good old-fashioned way that the tobacco industry used to do this. They're having sexy ads with people that look like they're 16 years old. California was basically able to say, this is really not going to be a good thing, especially for kids.
Donuts?
Oh, wow. Definitely a natural banana flavor.
It tastes like strawberries and it's so sweet.
There were over 15,000 e-cigarette flavors. I mean, how do you even come up with 15,000 flavors of anything? We know there's not even 15,000 flavors of ice cream. There's an innocence with flavors. It's what makes them so harmful and deadly.
Guys, that is some good stuff right there.
So we started to talk as a program about what can California do.
California has been innovative. It has not been afraid to go the next step.
California came out and was the first state to really take on e-cigarettes in a big, bold, aggressive way.
If you're not making some people uncomfortable, you're probably not doing what you should be doing.
So when we came out with the Wake Up campaign in 2015 in this big, aggressive way, it was scary having thousands of comments coming on Facebook and getting these nasty emails.
E-cigs don't have tobacco. Try Googling it, you jerks.
So we called Stan Glantz and said, Stan, this is what's going on. And Stan yelled at us and said, don't panic. This is what they do.
A year later, the Centers for Disease Control released a Surgeon General's report on e-cigarettes. Then the nation began to act.
And then from there, we had other states and other national organizations kind of chime in. So it helped to diffuse and settle things down and help make us even stronger.
Having all these kids suddenly using Juul in the schools mobilized huge numbers of parents to get involved and say, we don't want this stuff sold in our communities, or we want flavors taken out of these products. They have really activated the endgame conversation.
It is possible for a country to dramatically change how it does business in order to protect the lives of its citizens.
30 years ago, about 24% of the population smoked cigarettes. And today, it's around 10%, if not a little bit less. That is an absolute public health win.
California is incredibly well poised to address the end game. We're like the tip of the spear. We've been working on this for 30 years.
But I think it's a testament to the people of California, where people have been willing to fight for this program.
30 years in a fight is a long time.
Every single thing we ever tried to do in tobacco control, somebody said was impossible, it couldn't be done. Things that you just think are impossible can happen.
What do you do for the biggest killer of your people? You do everything you can. Tobacco control is a street fight, it's a local fight, We're on a mission to provide services for people to improve their quality of their lives overall.
You have to be bold and strategic to help the public see that it is possible.
It's not happening overnight. It's gradually shifting.
California is poised to make this happen.
We can have all Californians free of nicotine addiction.
How do we get better and better and better at telling our stories and just overwhelming our policymakers with evidence and heartfelt stories and reason to do the right thing? So I hope we do get to an end game. I hope to be part of it. I feel like I'm part of it right now.
You are a model for public health, and our state's low and falling smoking rate is a testament that what you do works.
I refuse to accept the idea that these products are with us forever.
If nobody's smoking, we won't have jobs anymore. And that would be a wonderful trade-off.
So go for it, California.
Hell yeah.